Hey, good evening, Galion. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary. We're running a little bit late today, trying to continue to work on improving this Facebook Live, but we've run into a little bit of a technical problem. So in the event that people are out there just waiting to hear what I have to say, I want to start tonight's conversation by mentioning a word of thanks to the Galion YMCA, and really congratulations to the people in the community that responded real favorably and real positively to the fact that we opened up the pools over the weekend. You know, the numbers were up significantly, close to between 1,200 and 1,300 people took advantage of the free days, and I think that was the right thing to do, and really amazing to me. Again, as I begin to understand a little bit better each week, each month, how to communicate through social media and get the word out. It's amazes me how quickly, once the notification was posted, that people responded. I guess good news travels fast, and so that was good news and a real positive thing, I think, over the weekend for Galion. And glad we have such a large pool that we could do that without crowding out too many of our what might call themselves as regular customers. The other item I wanted to mention real quickly before we get into questions or whatever else may be on people's mind is that tomorrow is going to be the annual graduation at Safety Town. It's a long-standing tradition, and Galion went on a hiatus for a while, and really very happy that it's back, and will be attending as I have since it's been a startup as the mayor, which is a lot of fun, but also a Grampy, as my kids call me, will be there, and it's fun really to have another generation of O'Leary kids and grandkids that have gone through the Safety Town program. Our boys, not that too many people care about that, but our boys, the 25 years my wife and I did Galion Safety Town, they kind of grew up around the community activity, and so it's fun to see that back up and running and under the able hands and supervision management of a Galion Police Department. So that's a good thing. I think it's open to the public, but I know it's certainly a well-attended event by the parents, grandparents, family members, and such of this year's class of Safety Towners. So really that's just a couple of things to get introduced. I think as far as Wednesday night, I appreciate people who are on or will share this after they know it's been up live. Working with us a little bit on flexibility. I had some schedule complications, and so, but I'm also not sure Monday nights are the best nights. So we're open for feedback, any comments about that, and continue to do the planning necessary to broaden this out and bring in some of the group sites and the managers of those group sites to act as a channeler of questions and a way to make this kind of virtual newspaper, this attempt to share information in this electronic age as successful as possible. So I'm not sure if there are any questions. If there are, we'll get into that, and then I'll weave in some comments on some things that have been mentioned over the last few weeks.
Yes, we do have a few questions to start out with. First one tonight comes from Cindy. She asked if there's any update on the traffic signal for the Brant Road intersection.
Yeah, that I believe will be bid. It is bid, and we're getting. I expect to have contractors in here to bid on that. Matt, when is that? Soon? What's the date?
August 8th is the opening.
Yeah, so the bids are on the street, and ODOT's approval has been gained, so they're okay with it, and we're more than happy to get it done. On the other part of 598, the non-Brant Road intersection part, it's beginning to look like that might not be constructed until 2022. Not real happy about it, but it certainly will improve things out there in terms of traffic flow. And I think we hope, make the intersection a little bit safer. So we'll be out there with the only improvement taking place will be the traffic signals beginning this fall, and it'll be a couple years, unfortunately, till we actually see the construction in 22. We're getting, just over answer the question a little bit, very determined not to turn that into a one-way construction setting. So we sent the engineers, we as the city and the city's engineer sent the engineer designing the project funded with federal and state funds, sent them back to the drawing board so that we can maintain traffic one lane in each direction during construction. There's a proposal to shut it down and route traffic around town, and we've had enough of that, and learned over the last several years how important it is to maintain traffic as we're reconstructing the road. So that'll won't slow down the project overall, but it's something that's going to most likely cause the project to fall into 2022 for the actual construction. So anyways, that's Brant Road later this year, and then the widening of 598 to really open up that corridor beginning in a few years.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next question tonight comes from Dawn. She asked for an update on a grocery store.
Yeah, I met with somebody today, Don. I mean, it's more of an inquiry on both the behalf of the potential operator and on the city's behalf. So we'll kind of see what will happen on that. The Plan A, if you will accept that term, has always been to see if we could get Geyers, not we, the city, but to see if the landlord at the old Geyers place could bring in a new facility. And I think you'll see in terms of application for beer permits, application to be the liquor store, you'll see this Galion Fresh Market's moving ahead. My hope is that that happens, but I also believe that we're going to need, over the longer haul, over the next several years, I'll be in a position to build a new facility that could act as a grocery store and commercial complex. And if we do that, we'll likely need a new operator. So in the short term, we continue to meet with people and hoping that the deal up at Geyers falls in place. But it's about really all I have on that. It's kind of moving ahead slowly, but more or less the same old, same old. I was told just a minute ago Save-A-Lot was out of milk, so if you're watching live, don't go out there. But they continue to I see that store as being increasingly busy, and I think that's a good thing for Galion.
That's actually a later question.
Yeah.
Marie, do you know what's going on at Save-A-Lot?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, part of what was the discussion, and maybe is starting to enter into different conversations, social media, is are they going out of business? The shelves are not full and those kinds of things. I really think I don't know, but I think it's a volume thing. They're selling a lot of product, and so it's hard to keep high quality food that's priced low price. It's hard to keep that on the shelves. What I do know about it is that the Save-A-Lot Corporation, the company, and they have both franchise stores and corporate stores, has purchased at least some of the property out there. And in this overall process of trying to bring additional grocery options to Galion, we'll be talking to them about what they have planned for the building and in what ways we can assist in that. It's always going to be a long ways for walkers, and I'm not quite sure what the solution there is, but we've been discussing this overall, how do we avoid becoming a food desert and those kinds of terms. I think one of the things might be to improve transportation access. It turns out that we get new grocery options, plus the ones that we have. Many of those are not well designed for walkers, so we may need to talk with the transit provider and figure out a way to provide some more frequent literal milk runs for people who need public transportation to and from local groceries. There's been a talk about going to Bucyrus, Walmart, and those sorts of things. From my point of view, that's worth considering, but we have grocery options here in Galion and hope to have a few more better alternatives or additional alternatives, as time unfolds. So.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight comes from Cindy. She asked if you have any additional information about the new restaurant beside the bowling alley.
I really don't. I mean, I guess I'm curious, George without the big ears. I'm curious about that myself, like a lot of other people, and but I don't have much to offer. Whatever is going on down there, the involvement really has been with the fire marshal and the fire department here, and then certainly with the owner of the building and with the health department. The health department and the building department out of Richland County. Our local health department and the building department. Our office is really much, in this one particularly, in a cheerleader mode, but I can't add much other than what the person asking the question probably already has heard or knows.
Okay, thank you. Next question tonight comes from Dee. She asks, what is happening at the site of the former Wilma Crawl Elementary School?
Well, the owner, one of the Pfeiffers, John, bought that out of the initial sale, and I happened to talk with him, I want to say 2 or 3 months ago, and he was discussing bringing some manufactured homes there to set that. So I haven't been out there, Dee, but I would think that if there is some activity, that's probably what's going on there. And all types of additional housing are from my perspective, thumbs up, whether it's expensive apartments, some people calling them expensive, but higher end apartments, to any type of new housing. One of the things that's happened, and we're determined to see if we can change it. I don't want to say raise heck, so then we'll pound the table and things will change, but how the housing assistance dollars that come from the federal government to the state to the locals are now administered really puts the cities in Crawford County at a disadvantage. The CHIP money, while people in Galion are certainly eligible, the administration and the application and the decisions about what gets done has very much been shifted to the county. And not only has it been shifted to the county, but it's shifted to a consultant, and that's been somewhere between not very helpful to the people who need housing assistance to a flat-out disaster. So I'm going to continue to bring that issue of how, in this case, federal housing dollars are distributed in smaller counties in Ohio. I'm going to continue to, if you will, complain about it, because I think it puts it where the money has come from and where the process operates. It's not in the neighborhoods, not in the streets, it's in the courthouse. And it's become increasingly administrative heavy, and the communities and the neighborhoods are disconnected from it. I don't think it's just our commissioners. I think it's commissioners around the state and rural counties. I've never known one over the last 40 years, a commissioner who ran for county commissioner and was successful because they were going to improve the flow of grant dollars on improving housing stock in Crawford County. That's never been an issue. It's not what commissioners get elected for. It's not what they're, generally speaking, what their background is in, their experience is in. And I think the result is that housing dollars, and really the handle that City Hall, back to the original question, what's going on down on South Boston, it's really taken it out of the area of being in the know and or being able to assist for city government. So ask one question about what's going on. I imagine it's the owner bringing in some housing like he had planned, and we'll take a look tomorrow. But the other issue, the other thing I wasn't asked but went ahead and answered, is the need to put the cities back in a more prominent role as it relates to state funds that come to Crawford County that are designed to help improve infrastructure and or help improve private housing. So, all right. Sorry for the over answer, but it's a sore subject, and I'm going to continue to push it because I believe that under the Kasich administration they really botched up the structure of the program and have put commissioners who aren't necessarily involved in these issues in the driver's seat, and there's a half hour or more that I could talk about that. I won't, about how things have been adversely affected since those changes were made just a handful of years ago.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight is actually kind of a shout out to the Main Street Team Shop.
Yeah.
Dawn asked if that store has regular hours of operation or a phone number.
No, I'm not sure it's a shout out. I would say the goal of the owners is to get towards regular operation, and I would refrain from giving out the number. This doesn't cost much to put this on, but the expenses for this are paid for by the city. So if you know how to get a hold of either one of my sons, Michael or Tim, go ahead and try to contact them. If not, online, offline, or whatever the word is, I'll get you a phone number, but I'm going to avoid the shameless plug. But thanks for the question. They do a great job. One of them is becoming pretty awesome at tie-dyeing, so if you like that art form, think it looks neat, and something in addition to concert T-shirts, stop up there. I guess you have to call them because stopping up there is a little problematic, but enough on all that.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight comes from Rita. She asked if there's a regular schedule for the recycling bin over at East Park.
I mean, I think it's out there all the time. We'll post it on when they dump it, so because what happens by the weekend, I'm not telling the question or anything that they don't know, but the thing fills up pretty fast. We have, on that general topic, we have suggested and offered some other locations to place the trailer, and we'd like to have additional trailer placed, but that's been, on either of those fronts, that's not been real successful. We've said you could bring it up here close to the city hall. And the thing I don't like about it is the splash park. It's for little kids, man. And a lot of those little kids are smaller than bumpers and pickup trucks and the kinds of vehicles that people bring recyclables, and so it's really not the best shared use of that parking facility. So. We'll post for you though when they come and get the trailer, and my suggestion would be get out there the next morning because they do fill up by the weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question tonight comes from Cindy. What's happening at the former Neff's Market location?
It is continues to be owned by Community Action. There's a little bit of final, the same consultant that I'm upset with over housing and block grants, some other things we may not get into tonight, is yet to get that project done out there. You may, when I make comment like this, if you were inside, you might hear people shuffling around with emails saying it's somehow our fault. It's not the city's fault. Project needs to be completed, and it's in the hands of the same consultant that screwed up the Uptown grant, the formula grant, the housing grant. It's pretty much everything they've touched the last few years in this county. This consulting firm has been less than stellar. So they need to complete the reclamation of the land, if you will. And what do we want to do with it? We want to put up housing. And why do we want to put up housing? Because we have a great need for housing, rental, single family, up and down the cost range. And so the idea of tearing it down was to get rid of a blight, but the future of that is hopefully that Community Action will be able to find a buyer or developer of that property, and we can get some new modern housing in the community. So that's the plan. The answer about the consultant is, yeah, and people are saying, is he going to keep complaining about that consultant? Yeah, probably until something happens to replace them or they improve their performance, because it's cost people in the Galion area, the Galion uptown area, about $70,000, and they totally screwed up the county's block grant. Oh, and by the way, the next block grant going in for the next 2 years, I guess Galion has been shut out of that. So it's curious to me, isn't? I thought that 2 out of the 3 county commissioners' offices were up for re-election next year. Like, wow, that's amazing. It seemed to me to be a bad time to cut Galion off and be of no particular help in avoiding the state taking away about $70,000 of our uptown grant. But I don't know. Go figure. Sometimes the politicians don't make much sense. But anyway, yeah, I am going to continue to complain about that situation, either till everyone turns me off or everybody agrees, man, this is not right, and they need to do something in Columbus to fix problems that are happening in counties like ours. So, all right, sorry about that. There's a legitimate. No, I'm not sorry about it. Viewers, listeners know I'm fixing to, make this a recurring issue, a recurring thing about how the federal funds have both been dialed back at the Columbus level for local communities, but it's been removed so that local city officials have no say in what the county commissioners decide they're going to do with this money. And it's tens of thousands of dollars. And like I said about commissioners before, I never knew anyone that ran wanting to improve housing in the county, at least in the last 40, 50 years. But I've never also known few people who said they're going to run for county commissioner to improve the flow of community development block grants. So I don't know if they care. I don't know if they know what's going on. But what I do know is that Galion is getting the short end of the stick. And part of my job is to point that out and make you aware of it and let you know I'm trying to do what I can to do something about it other than just complain. Through this medium. So, all right, next question if there is one.
Yeah, we've got a couple more here.
Okay, good.
Next one comes from Matt. He asks, can Powers Reservoir be mowed more often and in other areas other than the sledding area?
I would say that is, well, we're going to limit the number of mowings because even with our new mower, that is probably one of the riskiest of all the activities city employees are engaged in. Now, obviously, you have a fire. That's more dangerous than the mower malfunctioning and having somebody tumble down the hill. But we mow it not for aesthetics. We mow it to maintain and eliminate any kind of intrusion of roots or anything. So we mow it to maintain the upground reservoir, not for aesthetic purposes. So I never heard the question before. I don't, the questioner, what was his name or her name?
Matt.
Matt. Why this forum is pretty cool in that you could ask that question. It's a topic I never thought of. I never really considered. I'll ask the question tomorrow, and if it's different than what I gave you, that we're just mowing it minimally to maintain its safety, not its aesthetics, then we'll get at it. I don't know if the problem would be ticks and rodents or whatever, but the rodents are one of the big infiltrators that you try not to have, groundhog hotel there. So anyways, good question. I don't know. I'm making up an answer, so I'll stop there and try to get you one. We post the answer to the Stump the Mayor questions as soon as we can on our Facebook site, and I think it's probably going to be on our website too, the way we try to dual post that. So sorry for the crappy answer. I know, like Sergeant Schultz and Hogan Heroes, I know nothing on that one.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight comes from Alex. How about trains blocking 309?
It's real funny, not in a ha-ha way, Alex, but one of the reasons that we were a couple minutes coming on live tonight was there was a train coming through, and I said, put that on. I'll make some sort of wise guy joke about, well, at least there aren't trains blocking. And then we get a question about trains blocking. Is it It's probably Portland Way South, 309, and meaning south end of town. That's probably what the location they're talking about. The we continue to harass them is maybe too strong a verb, but we continue to complain about the blocking. We'll redouble the efforts if there's. I haven't been stopped, so you know how that goes. If you're not stopped, then it's not a problem. But I wasn't really aware of that many blockages there. As I've said in a couple other times when talking about this, there's little that we can do, and part of the reason isn't just the railroad being difficult. A significant part of the reason is when you look at the track structure, and there's a key link of 10 or so miles of railroad between Crestline and south of Shelby that goes to one lane. And so with that single lane track, they're bringing trains from the north and from the south, or in this case, a 309 from the southwest, if you will, and they have to go through that bottleneck. So we're going to be chronically there. The longer term solution is a multi-million-dollar solution, but may turn out to be the only way we're really going to resolve this in terms of north-south access into Morrow County, down to Mount Gilead, accessing Columbus, and that would be an overpass. And so when I say a few million, I think the bridge that they're building over in Marion pushed up closer to 10 than 5. And what they did over there is it became a priority for development, which is probably not the case here, but it became a public safety issue. And so they put together certain set of funds, federal, state, and local, and private contribution. They built that overpass. I think that's about 10 million. It spans the same railroad line that you're talking about, blocks traffic coming into Galion, trying to go north. So the final part of that would be we could, as a city, as a community, make that a high transportation priority, but it would certainly have to queue up behind the widening of 598 that helps a lot of our local development. But you know, it's a real problem, not an imagined problem. But we're probably $5 to $7 million away from actually having a bridge, and quite honestly, a handful of years at a minimum. If we made it a top priority, it'd be 4 or 5 years before you could assemble all the federal funds, do the design, acquire the real estate, and all that goes on. So I've thought about it a lot. I don't know quite what to do with Railroad Street and how you would tie that in, but that gets more into the detailed design. If council, city government decided this is a priority and we're going to put a lot of our own money and a lot of our own engineering time and money into designing an overpass for south end of town there. So.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question I have comes from a different Dawn. Mm-hmm. She asks, does the city offer grants for businesses to buy a new sign?
No, not that I'm familiar. I think the grants, no. Depending on what kind of sign we're talking about, has been recharged within the city's revolving loan fund between $35,000 and $40,000. So what the challenge is on something like that is it's a loan to the business, and generally speaking, there have to be jobs created. So a sign itself, I don't think anyone would connect that to, I put up the sign and I'm going to be able to create 3 jobs as a result. But having said that, if there's sounds like there's a specific instance, they should probably contact us up here and we try to think through if there's a way to get improved signage.
Okay, thank you. Last question I have as of right now comes from Heath. Do we know when the bike trail will be started?
I still hope this year, but we've got some real estate acquisition issues that we got to deal with first, and so we've got meaning we have two pieces of property we either have to acquire or get an easement. We've got one worked out, all except the approval of the price by council, and the other one we're still working on. So there'll be some activity this fall on it. I'm not going to commit to saying we'll get the thing constructed this year, but where it's snagged is in the two ends of the proposed route. Parking and access at the what I would call the northern end, and then some real estate acquisition over by the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. That's all we have for tonight.
I'll just close by saying that I'm glad I brought up this issue of countywide EMS a couple weeks ago. You could see there was an article, if you read the local press, there's an article with the county commissioners kind of responding to what I was saying. And then also I've been contacted by area township trustees on the topic. So Galion, so we're not misunderstood, Galion is very interested in expanding our service area in ways that help reduce response time and perhaps maintain or reduce costs. And I really think that rather than a county-wide EMS service, that it's unclear how that would interact with our existing service and our existing relationship with Polk Township. I really think that more time should be spent looking at how the cities can extend their EMS coverage and reduce the amount of area in the county that is if no man's land, or the part of the area in the county that's I would say stuck with private ambulance. Galion had private ambulance for many years, upgraded to paramedics in the fire department, and I don't imagine we'll ever revert back to private ambulance. So the idea of having a county-wide district that's served by a private ambulance company makes little or no sense. So we'll see kind of what the details. It's always important to listen to the details, but Galion has a point of view on that. We're going to continue to push it, and glad I mentioned it, and wanted to just close by saying that topic's still out there, and we'll keep you posted on it, because many of the people who view this don't live in the city government per se, and I think we could improve response time and provide lower cost service for Galion area residents, and that'd be our goal. And trying to make sure that we don't jump into a new governmental unit that doesn't really serve people in this part of the county's needs very well at all. So with that, I'll stop. No more questions? See ya. Thanks for switching from Monday to Wednesday. Appreciate you being understanding about the delayed start time, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good night.